making it out on this quite chilly November fall day. I have officially passed having this bike for a year now, and essentially want to go through my thoughts of why I love this bike, why I think you should get this bike, as well as try to pick out some things that maybe aren't for everyone and why you shouldn't buy this bike. Gonna try to find a nice place for us to chit chat about it. Alright guys, we have made it to Rosehaven Memorial Beach. I have driven past here so many times but have never stopped. Thought today would be a perfect day. It is chilly. Last week was in the 70s. This week is in the low 40s. So not ready for that, but here we are. It seems like this is the weather that's going to be here to stay. Going to run you guys through 3 reasons why I love this bike. And honestly, the only one flaw I think this bike has, as well as I will run you guys through 2 flaws that other people think this bike have that I actually don't agree with. So, number 1 reason that I love this bike is for how you can accessorize it and make it look so custom and different without actually having to do that many aftermarket parts. Disclaimer, there's actually tons of aftermarket parts for this bike. I specifically want it reliable and to look good and know that everything's going to work and all the bolting up is going to line up perfect, which is why I chose to do it like this. I will put the link to my bike check down below that I did about a month and a half, 2 months ago, so you guys can check that out to see the specific parts that I have on here. The second reason why I love this bike is for the torque power band of it. For those of you that don't know, I came from a 2012 BMW S1000RR that I bought new when I was younger. And it's crazy to say that this actually has about the same amount of torque, even though it has only maybe 2/5 of the power of it. Due to the fact that I love riding back roads, being able to pull out of the turns is one of my favorite things. I love doing that. The third reason why I love this bike so much is because it doesn't look like any other current model that is made by any other company. The closest one I would probably say would be the Softail lineup from Harley, but still it's quite different from those. With the motor setup being a vertical twin compared to a V-twin with a hovering seat and the overall ride geometry of this, I think this bike handles phenomenally. But with handling, I will go to my single one thing that I wish they changed from the factory about this bike, and that would be the suspension. There is no adjustability of it right out of the box. I think that is where Triumph went wrong with this bike. I feel like everything should have adjustability because unless you are specifically the size and weight that they built this bike around, you're going to need to adjust it and make it custom for your own frame. This is the single flaw that I think they did with this bike. I plan on putting a different oil weight in the front, potentially depending on what internals it has. Unfortunately, with the rear suspension, I'm going to have to swap out the whole thing, get something adjustable. It's going to be a little bit more stiff and nicer for the back roads, but that's due to the fact that I ride aggressive in the back roads. This is a cruiser. If you are just riding this as a cruiser around town on straight roads, not really getting into the turns, I think this is a perfectly smooth, enjoyable bike. I've always been one to actually stand up for the stock suspension. My body weight is almost what they've set this for. It's still a little bit on the heavier side, and I am definitely a taller rider for this bike, but I absolutely love it. The first of the two main things I hear other people complain about will be the fuel tank. This is a 9-liter, I believe that's 2.3 or 2.4 gallons of fuel in there. I kind of think it's silly because the heritage of the Bobber is a small, chopped up, lightweight, small tank bike, where I feel like Triumph actually nailed it with this bike. A lot of people say that they can't get good range out of their fuel economy. I personally don't really have an issue with it. I get over 100 gallons, not 100 gallons. I get over 100 miles per tank, which honestly, unless you're doing a bike packing trip or doing a day trip or anything, I don't think that's terrible. That's roughly what my BMW got, but I don't think that's actually a flaw of it. It's just a characteristic of this style. And the second thing that I hear most people complain about is the lean angle of this bike. It's not much, but for being a small, lowered cruiser, as well as just a cruiser in general, you're not going to have that much of a lean angle. I have ground down my foot pegs as well as hit my mufflers a couple times, and honestly, I'm not upset about the fact of hitting those, because that's a characteristic of how I am riding this bike, not of a design flaw from Triumph. I think they made this bike pretty much nail on the head, minus the lack of adjustability of the suspension. So it is chilly. I want to get back home, get warm, so let's jump back on the bike and I'll give you some updates. They're coming. So some of my plans for over the winter are to show you guys the untraditional riding clothes that I use. For example, my new jacket will let you guys know who makes it and why I choose it rather than actual riding gear. As well as I will do some bike maintenance videos showing you guys how to change stuff on the bike that when I needed to do it, I actually couldn't find any videos, so I'm going to make those for you guys. Some of the riding stuff that I do have, like helmets, I want to do reviews on them because I've had a few different ones and there's pros and cons to each of them. So I thought let you guys know what that is before making the big purchase like I did to just make a different one. But thank you guys for checking out this video. If you guys like it, give me a thumbs up. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. Subscribe, and let's see where we go next.